Welcome to Dragonfly Radio. Today I would like to introduce you to Kim. She has a story of her own that I think might reach out to many individuals in our community and across the province, or who knows where it'll go to. But that being said, she would like to tell her own story and bring awareness to a few organizations in our community, and also how she feels about grief, loss, and what to do next. So welcome to Dragonfly Radio.
Thank you.
And Kim, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here with us.
Thank you. I'm very excited.
This is new. We've usually used Zoom with different individuals from different parts of the province. It's the first time we actually sit down with somebody, and yeah, it's kind of a little different for myself also. So welcome to Dragonfly Radio, and why don't you introduce yourself to the rest of the world?
Okay. Hello, my name is Kim Del Bianco, Dittburner. I am a stay-at-home mom. I am self-employed. I decided to stay home with my children when I had my first and oldest, Tyrus Cameron. I have my second, who is Riley James, and then my third son, Alistair Crew, our surprise baby. He was our little oops baby and our surprise baby, and after, no complications in my pregnancy, zero. It was a hard pregnancy, very sick and stuff like that. Morning sickness, that kind of thing. But other than that, a fine pregnancy. Third C-section. And unbeknownst to us, we got up that morning and went in to deliver our baby boy, our third baby boy, to complete our family. And everything was routine and no problems with the surgery until Alistair came out. And the moment Alistair came out, the doctor said, "We have an issue. There's meconium." And I think they thought at the time he was aspirating or choking on the meconium, and they intubated him immediately and took him away. And we didn't get to see him for 2 hours. And we had apparently the best pediatrician in Sudbury that had zero bedside manner, and came to us and asked us if we were Alistair's parents. And we said yes, and all she said was, "You have a very sick baby." And for anyone who's had surgery, you're frozen, you're discombobulated. I hadn't eaten yet. It was complete surprise to us and in complete shock. And I think when you hear sick baby, you think, oh, okay, well, make him better. We're at the hospital, make him better. And it was a matter of there was nothing Sudbury could do. And February 24th of 2016 was one of the worst snowstorms, of course, to hit Sudbury. And Sick Kids were supposed to fly in to pick him up. They got stranded. The helicopter got stranded because of the weather. They had to fly in an airplane from Thunder Bay. They couldn't de-ice the wings. So it was a matter of hours and hours and hours trickling away. And with being in Sudbury, there was nothing they could do. Finally got him to Sick Kids. I was not able to fly. They would not let me fly. Troy was turned away from the flight. He was supposed to go with Alistair, and they turned him away because his extra 100 pounds was the extra gas they needed in case they had to come back to Sudbury because they couldn't land in Toronto. So I called my sisters, who are my heroes, and both of them dropped everything they were doing. One's in Brampton and one's in Burlington. And they dropped everything they were doing, including their families, and they drove to Sick Kids, and they were there even before Alistair arrived, so that Alistair would never be alone. I do want to give a huge shout out to the ferry driver, because I guess the ferry on the island closes at midnight, and Alistair was arriving after midnight, and the man stayed so that they wouldn't be stranded on the island or they wouldn't have to go through the tunnel. He stayed to make sure that Alistair got to the hospital, and wow. It was pretty amazing. I mean, the amount of people that risked their lives that day to fly in the snowstorm, to fly in the freezing rain once they got into Toronto, it was amazing. I mean, the support in that sense was absolutely amazing. When he arrived at Sick Kids, we were told that Alistair had an enlarged heart. His heart took up 80% of his chest, and there was no room for his lungs. I know in my heart that They tried everything they could. They said they tried to put him on a bypass machine so that they could work on his heart, but he wasn't strong enough. We arrived on the Thursday, and I think it's a situation for any parent that you never think you're going to be faced with. My husband and I were brought into a very small little room with all these doctors, all these degrees, and I just remember them firing questions at us, and like, are you related, and do you have a cat, and just all these things to try and figure out
what happened.
And then they basically said to us, you have a choice to make. There's nothing we can do. You have a choice to make. You can either watch your son deteriorate on the table to the point where he's unrecognizable, or you can take him off life support and have him pass away peacefully. And on the Thursday, I don't know, for someone who's never dealt with grief like this, it didn't hit me. It wasn't possible. This is not happening
to you at
to
that
me.
time.
And all I remember thinking was, he just needs more time. And I remember standing beside his crib and, begging him to fight. We're fighters. We're a family of fighters. We're strong. We're Italian.
You can do this.
You can do this. And he did. He fought. He fought. He never gave up. He fought. And one thing I'll never forget is every time Troy, my husband, would come into the room and we would say, Daddy's here, Alistair would try and open his eyes. And those were signs to me that he's trying. We have to give him more time. The doctors do rounds every morning at 6:00 in the morning as a handoff.
Yeah.
And I decided I wanted to be a fly on the wall. I wanted to be there when they did it.
So you knew.
So I was in there as the two doctors were standing behind me, and I overheard them saying that Alistair died in Sudbury, and they brought him back. And literally everything they were doing was for us, for the family.
To have your time.
To have our time. And Alistair gave us time because my dad and my mom were in Palm Springs, and my Nona looking out for us. My parents got on the 2 seats available on a red eye on the Friday morning. They were able to be there by 6:00 in the morning. And at that point, the doctors, basically said, we're going to give you a special little room. And, I have the most amazing family in the world. I was surrounded by my sisters, my uncles, my aunts, cousins, my parents, my mother-in-law and father-in-law were here in Sudbury with my other 2 boys. We were able to Skype them in so that the entire family was there. And the doctors put him in my arms as I sat in Troy's arms, and we watched him pass away. And I mean, if there's any image in my head that I'll never be able to get out, is my son fighting for his last breath. And if there was anything I could have done to save him, I would have done it. I would have done it. I would have done anything to save him.
Okay, let's give you a minute to get your composure, because I'm sure this is just overwhelming emotion for you right now. And I'm holding back my tears. I'm sure everybody else is. I couldn't even imagine. So let's turn back the clock a little bit. I just want to ask a quick question. So you're sitting there. You've given, as you got mascara going through.
Oh yeah, I wear makeup today. I haven't worn makeup in 18 months.
Well, it's a start today.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there, your child goes, and they have to assess, and you're waiting. At any point while you're waiting before the physician comes out to speak with you, did anybody come in and talk to you, give you any not the compassion, the empathy. I'm just wondering, did they give you any idea of what was happening on the other side of the door? Do you think that's something that needs to be addressed?
Absolutely.
Do you believe that in your heart we need to make a change there?
Absolutely.
That there has to be a communication, even if it's just a nurse. I wouldn't want to say having a chaplain come at that point would be what you'd want to see, but somebody to come and say, listen, this is what's happening. A doctor will be with you shortly. Do you think have you heard a common story denominator here? Or do you think this something that it just was a one time and it just was missed for you? Do you believe that?
In my opinion, and this is my opinion.
Yes, because this is Dragonfly Radio is all about our personal story and journey, right? We're not grief counselors. We're not psychologists. We're just women who have had experiences, or men that want to address and talk about it.
In my journey, on the way in to my C-section, everyone was so, let's go have a baby, it's a birthday today, and the excitement level was so high that I was up there too. I was so high.
The adrenaline, right?
The adrenaline. Right?
Yeah.
And I remember saying to Troy, make sure you take a video, make sure you take pictures, and we were so into the moment because of all of the excitement that was happening, that the second Alistair came out, vroom, vroom, and gone. He was whisked away so quickly, and I remember thinking, what the hell is going on? Troy, go with them. And the doctor saying, nope, he's in good hands, and that was it. That was it.
So that missing piece, that link to at least give you an understanding of what was happening so you could be better prepared.
Yep. There was no, after a C-section, you're taken to this recovery area. And I remember just sitting there and being ill. And the nurses were very concerned about me and very hands-on and very wonderful with me. Yeah. But there was no communication about what was going on with my son. Okay. So and the first introduction to what was going on with my son was this doctor saying, your son is very sick.
And it wasn't even your doctor?
No, it wasn't even my doctor. It was a pediatrician that came in. Apparently she is the best in Sudbury.
And it could be, but maybe, what you're having to say will reach out to an organization or an individual that say, wow, you know what, maybe we need to think about how we present the case after the fact, right?
How we deliver the news, right? It's all about delivery. And, keep in mind, you're talking to a person that's just been drugged up to high heaven to be cut in half to have a baby come out, right? And this is my situation. I know there's been women that have given birth naturally, and this, the same type of thing has occurred where, it's okay, you're looking after them, but what's going on? All we care about after we've given birth is seeing that child that we've held in our bellies for 9-10 months. All we want to do is see them and hold them and kiss them and breastfeed and all these natural things. Yeah. And I remember, I remember saying to them, I need to feed my child. Should I be pumping? And them encouraging me to pump and get the milk out, encouraging. Whereas someone should have said, yes, Kim, I'm going to be really honest with you here, and we are in a dire situation. If someone would have said to me immediately, your baby's not sick, your baby is dying. There's a huge difference. And instead of her, this doctor said to me, you should think about getting your son baptized. I mean, that is not a way to deliver the fact that your son might die. You don't tell someone you better have your child baptized. Well, what? Why? What are you talking about? Don't you give up on my son? What do you mean? Because they didn't give me any information until the doctors from Sick Kids came. And I don't know if that's because Sudbury wasn't sure of their answer. I mean, when I read the medical report, the doctor, this particular pediatrician, assumed it was because of an illness or a virus I had contracted.
Okay.
So immediately she put the blame on me in her stuff. And I'm like, it had nothing to do with that. It was all genetic. Yeah. Right? So
it's good to know that, if there's a way that maybe your story will help someone else. If we don't want to see this happen to someone, right? We don't want to see another mom go or a situation come about, but at least now you've, brought it a little bit to light. So I'm hoping that will help educate maybe one of our attendings in our community to maybe just think about the impact it has on the families when it's brought to light.
The one thing I will say though is that, my particular OB, Dr. Huna, was, we were in a situation where we couldn't afford a private room, and he was like, she's going in a private room. Yeah. Don't put her with other babies, don't put her with other moms, give her that respect. And that is the one thing from that hospital that I will appreciate is that particular thing. And when it comes to Sick Kids Hospital, like maybe there are some training courses when it comes to compassion and empathy with that,
Yes.
because every single nurse that I encountered at Sick Kids had compassion and understanding. And I said to one of the male nurses, I said, I'm that person that you tell me everything. I want to know everything because I need to know. And he did. And there was points when he said, you need to go and lie down. You just had a C-section. Go,
you need your rest.
Yeah,
because your mental health and your physical health now becomes imperative also.
Yeah.
You're dealing with an emotional strain and challenges, but you can't let yourself fall apart either. So that also comes into play.
Yeah.
So we'll go back to you. We know that Alistair is, he's not going to make it. And that transition that happens after that happens, is there anything that you want individuals to know on your experience that you can bring to light? Is there any question you should have asked? Is there anything that you want to address?
The one message I think is imperative for any parent in that situation, when either you're told that your child isn't going to make it, or I remember thinking, my cousin sent in a photographer, and I remember at the time thinking, why do I need a photographer? What do I want pictures of my son, with all these cords and heart monitors and blood, and why do I want pictures of that? And it is the only thing now that gets me through my day are those pictures. And I would say to anybody, in the moment you're probably thinking, I don't get it. I don't want pictures of my child like this. Take pictures.
Yes.
Take videos. Even if it's you crying with your child or your family, or it's I have a video of my son just lying there and all you can hear is the beeping of the heart monitors. But I wouldn't delete that for anything in the world.
No.
Because he's breathing in those videos.
Yeah. I actually agree with you. It actually, and just in conversations with individuals who have lost family, that's some of the questions they've actually said or addressed to me was, do I wish we had a current picture? Not just for the publication part of it. They just wish that, they had taken the time to have a picture of mom and dad. And I've actually spoken to a few photographers, and I actually wanted to mention to Mel with the Scrappy Sisters. I think that would be a great piece to bring in. It would be a challenge emotionally. I think it has to be a strong character to be that photographer.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think, because I've had an opportunity to see some of your pictures this morning, and if you want to show, by all means, we have Alistair with us, which I think is beautiful. I love it. I think those are memories you're going to cherish forever, right? And not just you, as your children grow. Because you have 2 boys.
Yep.
How were they, because they would have been younger,
Yep.
did they understand what was happening? Or do you feel that this is something that they're never really going to comprehend because of their age?
Alistair is with us every day. He is a part of our lives. He's a part of my boys. Everything they do is, oh, Mommy, Alistair would have loved this, or they understood. They were very involved with the pregnancy. It was always hands on the belly and trying to get him to move, and they would talk to him, and my oldest TK would sing to him, and, we called him Pukey Love because Mommy threw up all the time, so that was his nickname in the belly, kind of a thing. And when we went to the hospital, the doctors did say, if you want to bring your children in to meet him, they can come in. Unfortunately, my mother and father-in-law were sick with pneumonia. So they couldn't bring them into the hospital. So they never got to physically meet him, which is one of the biggest heartbreaks I have. But when I came home after Alistair passed away, that night, my 2 boys went to bed, and I overheard TK say to Riley, hey, Riley, wasn't that really cool that we got to see Alistair on the computer? Yeah. I wish we could have been there, eh? Yeah. But that was really cool. Yeah.
So they have their own way of recognizing that moment.
They've done, I don't know if you can see them on here, but this is our family. And it's
gorgeous pictures.
And Alistair is always this little, angel somewhere, or on Daddy's shoulder, or on Mommy's shoulder. He's included in everything they do. And we include him in everything. I have pictures on the wall down there, all 3 ultrasounds of all 3 boys, and in the order that they were born, and he is their baby brother.
Yeah, and the memory always has to be alive, right? He's part of who you are, what you represent in your family. So he's always going to be with you. Yeah. You have a loss of so strong that nobody probably wants to even think about. And I know myself personally, I would never want to have to go through that emotion. You come home, you have a different story also about how it all falls. Is there anything you want to address there, or like what support did you have coming home?
The first, see, this is, and I'm sure this is of anybody who has had to bury a loved one. You know, the first week and a half, 2 weeks after someone passes away, your house is the busiest spot in the world. People are dropping in with flowers and cards and food and let me help you, and I'm going to clean your house and I'm going to help you eat, you know, stock the fridge. And, you know, with the funeral, and the first 2 weeks are so intense because everybody's there. And then on the Sunday, you're there and you watch everybody go home. And it sets in like a cloud how alone you are. And my support system, I have my parents, I have my sisters who have been incredible. My oldest sister, for 81 weeks today, you know, has sent me hearts every single morning so that, you know, she knows
You're not alone.
I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate with the family that I have. My dad's side has been wonderful. You know, I have cousins that have been so embracing and wonderful in there. But it's been 18 months, right? And in the first couple of weeks, there's tons of support. And then it slowly falls away and slowly falls away. And I've lost friends through it.
Why do you think that is? I'm curious.
I've been told it's because people don't know what to say to me. And, you know, my husband and I were at a point where we called ourselves the plague, because I would go to the grocery store and someone would see me and they would get this look on their face and they would beat around to the next aisle just so they wouldn't have to come face to face with me. I've had people tell me, you know, oh, I don't want to bring Alistair because I don't want to make you think about him, or I don't want to make you cry. Well, I'll say this to the entire world. If you are dealing with a bereaved mother or father, all they want to do is talk about their child. They are always thinking about them. There is nothing you can say that's going to make them think about their child. Or you know, that's all they want to do is talk about them. So when you say, how are you doing? Expect an honest answer.
Yeah.
Today I'm not doing so great, or today I'm doing great, but, you know, and this is why, because I found a heart. You know, I found a heart mushroom, and I'm doing great today. You know?
There's a sign, right? There's something there to say he's still with us.
Yeah.
He's part of who we are. He's part of your family.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think it's important. And tears are healthy.
Oh, yeah.
If someone cries, it's not always has to be taken as a negative emotion. It's a healthy emotion, right?
Very.
You're accepting what's happening at the same time as those tears are going, and they represent something. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think people have to understand that it's okay. You're going to have good days, bad days.
Yeah.
And if someone calls, it's wrong to say, it's a good day, Mom. It's a good day, Dad. It's a good day, Sister. You know what? It's a bad day. It friggin' sucks.
Yeah.
Grief, loss, it sucks.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I'm going to get through it. I have a great support team in place.
Yeah.
And tomorrow's a new day.
And you know, I like to, many people, and I like to explain it as it's like waves, right? Sometimes the waves are just little. And sometimes they knock your feet out from underneath you, and there's nothing you can do other than you go with the flow. Like, my body, I mean, I'm a very passionate person. I'm a very emotional person. I always have been. It's just part of my Italian nature. And I can't hold tears in. And the days I do hold tears in, I feel like my throat's going to explode because I'm keeping something in that needs to get out. And every day when there's been days when you don't even recognize my face because it's so swollen from crying. But the next day, I feel a release. I feel like a weight has come off. I've allowed that pain out of me. I've gotten it out of me and released it into the universe. And I've made room for a little bit of light to come in. And, you know, whenever someone cries, I'm happy about it because you're releasing something. And if I'm crying in front of you, don't get uncomfortable. Hug me. Just give me a hug, you know, and that's it. And sometimes, or make a joke. I've had some people make a joke, and you're going to make me cry too, Kim. And then all of a sudden you're both laughing and crying at the same time.
And it's a healthy release.
Be accepting. be accepting of the fact that that person is not going to be the same person anymore.
No, and I don't think you'll ever would be, and I don't think you want to be. It's not an experience we wish upon our worst enemy, right?
No,
it's
God,
not
no.
anything we ever want to wish. If you're home, things have settled, how do you feel? Do you feel we have great resources here in our community? So we're in Greater Sudbury, Northern Ontario. What do you think's, you know how I feel. It comes to the knowledge. We only need to know what we need to know in life, right? If you've never experienced it, you don't know where to go, where to start. Do you find we have a great system in place here where we can guide that path? You know, this is the journey you're taking. Here's some roads to go. You can go this path. Or do you think we're missing something here in our community? So what's your personal thought?
So when I left Sick Kids, I received 8 documents about all of the services available in Toronto, which is great.
Yeah,
I
if
don't
you
live
live in Southern Ontario, I agree. It's perfect, but we're in Northern
We're
Ontario.
in Northern Ontario. And, you know, I left from Health Sciences North to Sick Kids home. I never heard anything ever again from Health Sciences North. Nothing.
Okay.
I never received any information about here's some services available to you in your grief. Here, you know, no one ever called to see even if he did live or die. Like, there was no communication from Health Sciences North after I left that hospital. And since.
Do you want to make a change in that? Do you think
Absolutely.
our community needs to make a change?
Absolutely.
Do you think we need to stand up and say, listen,
Absolutely.
we have a child, we were a resident in our community, this has happened, we need to address it so that families that we know it's going to happen, right? It's life. As much as we know it's going to suck for somebody else, somebody else is going to have a very similar story to tell in the near future.
When you hear stats like 1 in 4, I mean,
do you think we can do something to change that? Do you think you have the passion and the power within you?
I hope so. I'm trying really hard.
Good for you,
I would. The only resource that was given to me was through my mother-in-law, and she found it. And the avenue she found it in, I'm not quite sure, but it was Butterfly Wings, and
great organization,
an amazing organization that I can honestly say I don't know if I would be sitting here with you had it not been for Butterfly Wings. One, we were financially unavailable to afford any kind of counseling, and Butterfly Wings offers free counseling. It's all volunteer hours. They're not funded by anybody. They're only given money through fundraising, and that's very minimal. And you know, they've got Colleen who will come to you for free. And there's the support group. Now, you know, at first you go into the support group and you have no idea. I mean, I've never been a part of a support group for anything. I don't have any addictions. I've never been to a support group.
It's new.
It was brand new. I didn't know what to expect. And because the whole month after Alistair died, I felt so alone. I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody. I felt like nobody understood where I was coming from. You know, you get a lot of comparing it to my mother. You know, my mother passed away. Oh yeah, you know, I know how you feel because, no, you don't. I don't know how you feel because I haven't lost my mother, and you don't know how I feel because you've never lost your child. Right. And I walk into Butterfly Wings, and I'm surrounded by women who are in the similar path that I'm on. And all of a sudden you realize I'm not alone. And for the first time in that whole month, I was like, okay, here's people that actually want to hear my story. Here's people that actually want me to talk about my son. And cry. And let's not pour out of my nose. And they'll offer me tissues. And then they'll say, thank you for coming. Yep. I'm glad you're here. Yep. And, you know, no one says that to you after I'm glad you're here because you feel like the plague around normal people. And just those words were enough for me to be like, I found a place. I found a place that understands. And you know, I wish that Butterfly Wings was advertised on every billboard in the city, but nobody wants to talk about grief. You know, it's a really hard topic for anybody to talk about.
I think that's part of what I do, right?
Mm-hmm.
I bringing light to grief, loss, and what to do next. I think everybody has a journey and a story to tell, and if you went through it, your story might help somebody else. So those words today will, you know, maybe direct somebody who's listening or watching and say, butterfly wings, what is it? You know, I do know I'm going to be meeting up with Colleen in the near future, and we're going to be doing a segment strictly on butterfly wings, which I'm honored to be part of, and it's just, I can't wait for that moment to be able to express that service in our community. What do you feel about the Society for the Empathy and Compassion coming back to you now? So your time you're 18 months in, and I know we can't stay doing a video as much as we would like to do hours, but is there any food for thought that you can give back to the community, for not just those going through, for those sitting on the sidelines also?
For those who have not gone through it, I hope you never have to go through it, but just remember that even 18 months out, 3 years after, 6 years after, the pain of never being able to watch your child hit those milestones, start school, call you mom, you know, those are things you think about for the rest of your life. And if you haven't gone through it, I would say you don't have to do anything for anyone grieving. Just be there. Be present. Don't judge. You know, some days are going to be easier than others, and those days that are hard, you know, just let them know that you're there. You want to go for coffee? You want me to take your kids for an hour? You need a nap? You know, have compassion for longer than the 6 weeks after it happens. You know, it doesn't end for us. It continues. And to any mother...
Going through it.
Pardon me?
And if their mom is going through it?
Yeah.
What do you think?
If their mom is going?
If you're the mom.
If you're the mom.
You're you today.
As someone, first to direct it to the moms, if you are someone going through this, especially if you feel you're going through it alone, please reach out, because you're not alone. We know your pain. We know that society expects you to put the happy mask on eventually and go back to where you were, who you were. I know you won't ever be that person again. And you're not alone. You know, we need to talk about it. And that's one thing that will eat you alive, is if you bury it and you put it down deep. You know, I write every single day. I'm writing Alistair's story. I'm writing about my grief journey. I'm 218 pages into it, and it has saved me. So if you feel you can't reach out to someone, pull out a journal, write it all down, get those thoughts out so you can read them back to yourself. And sometimes when I read them back, I bawl my eyes out because I'm like, oh my God, that's so intense. But that's what I was feeling at the time, and you get it out there. You've got to get it out. You need someone to talk to. Butterfly wings. Butterfly wings.
Or you can actually, are you okay if someone reaches out to you directly?
Absolutely.
I will post as much information for your contact information that I can, if that's okay with
Absolutely.
you. And they can touch base, and you can maybe direct them to the right conversations.
The one thing I do want to add really quickly,
yeah, for sure,
is men, the husbands, the fathers, are lost in this process. There is no support, in my experience, for men like there are for the mothers, and they get lost in the process. And I would love to see somehow something for men.
That's a good point, and I believe that.
I've watched my husband deteriorate, and I've watched him spend the last 18 months in the garage puttering around. And when I talk to other bereaved moms, it's very similar. The men putter and hide and bury. And if there was someone, maybe even a man in this case, that could create some kind of support group for men where you could build something. Why don't you all get together and build something? That's what they need, an outlet, and there's none. And not in the North anyway, nothing I've seen. And it scares me, because they are grieving too. And everyone always asks them, how's your wife doing? No one ever asks them, how are you doing with your loss?
Because it's their child just as much. Even
Absolutely.
though the mom carries, the dad is just as important as the mom. And that is actually an extremely good point. And maybe somewhere somebody might get an idea. And I think you might be busy in the months to come.
I think so. I hope so. I hope so, because I think awareness about child loss, and, you know, in my case, my son was born alive and lived for 2 days and passed away 52 hours later. There are cases of stillborn.
Right.
And I couldn't even imagine that, because it's a completely different path than I'm walking. There are instances of late stage miscarriage.
Right.
You know, when a mother's told, oh, your baby's heart just stopped. well, why, right? And there's so many stages of this, and every single time it's the woman that's focused on, and the man,
not the dad,
and the dad's always forgotten. And he's expected to buck up, and you know,
society has addressed it to that he's the leader, he's the role model in the family, and he's not allowed to grieve.
Yeah, and he's not like, it's okay if she's in a ball messed up, but you're not allowed to. You got to be strong and support your family. That's not the case with a lot of them. A lot of them bury it, and they become a statistic because they've gone crazy, or they've left their family. They, you know.
And when we do, and you mentioned statistics where even, you know, moms now with giving birth, and it just, the statistics are rising where they're just struggling with a newborn, let alone an emotion of your journey and path. Yeah, if we can let them know that there are resources within the communities that you can address and go to, then we've at least done something today, right?
Yeah.
But I want to thank you so much, Kim, for allowing me in your home, your family home. I think that's awesome. I got to meet Alistair and some wonderful pictures, and I'm proud of what you've done. And I think you're going to do amazing things in the months to come. And I think you're going to be addressing an issue that is just so much needed. And there's probably a lot of moms out there today that are saying thank you. So kudos to you, girl.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for joining us on Dragonfly Radio. I know this has been a little different segment for us, an episode. We have a lot more coming in the weeks ahead. As I mentioned to Kim, I'll upload this to all our components as possible. Leslie at the social launch will take care of it. And that's our sign out tune. Take care, everyone. Bye.